Tom, just curious to know whether you think that Christians should be concerned about climate change, and if so, why?
Yeah, absolutely, Penny. I'm a Christian and I'm concerned about climate change, obviously. I think there are several reasons that we as Christians should be concerned about climate change. So we believe that God created the world and He loves it dearly. So the world is not ours to do with what we want. The world is God's, and we are going to be held accountable by God for what we've done to His creation. So I think if you look at some of the passages early in Genesis, we see that God has mandated us humans to be stewards of creation. Now, stewards doesn't mean we can do whatever we want with it. It means we need to care for it, to look after it, to wisely manage what God has graciously given us. So that's one important reason that Christians should be concerned about climate change. More broadly though, climate change is a justice issue. It's very unjust that at the moment it's we wealthy Westerners who are producing the majority of the world's emissions, emitting far more than our fair share, and yet climate change will affect first and foremost poor and marginalised communities in developing nations, including some of our friends in India. They're the ones who will be hit by the rising food prices. They're the ones who the natural disasters will have the greatest impact on because they don't have the infrastructure protecting them from floods, hurricanes and so forth. So climate change is, as it's running at the moment, is very unjust, deeply unjust, because the people who are causing the problem, doing the most to cause the problem, are not the ones who will suffer the most from it. We know that our God is a God of justice. So God is passionately concerned about the poor and marginalised, and throughout the Old and New Testaments, He is shown to be a God who acts on behalf of the oppressed. I think it's a false dichotomy to say Christians should just be concerned about faith issues and climate change is a political or an economic issue. It's not like that at all. Our faith needs to inform all aspects of our lives, including our carbon footprints.
And Tom, how much impact do you think that Christians can have on climate change?
Yeah, so I think, Penny, we can have a big influence on climate change. That's partially just because there are a lot of Christians. So you might not think it, but globally, about almost 1/3 of the world's population is Christian. And even in Australia, even though we're rapidly secularising society, many people do still identify with the Christian faith. Secondly, I found, at least in my interaction with politicians, quite often, and sadly, the politicians who are most obstructionist in their attitudes toward climate change are actually conservative Christians. So as a Christian, I'm often writing to politicians talking about why I believe our faith, what I believe our faith has to say about climate change, and I'm trying to connect with them on that level because I believe that's one of the few things we have in common. Yes.
Don't you think that Christians should focus on other more important justice issues?
Alright, so I do think that there are many justice issues that we should be concerned about as humans and as Christians. So, in Australia we've got our treatment of refugees, not providing enough foreign aid. So there's many justice issues that we should be concerned about, and I'm not into the business of playing them off against each other. What I see is that they're all interrelated. So I'm concerned about all those things, and I try to take action on all of them. Now, the way climate change links in with these other justice issues maybe isn't always obvious, but it is there. So take refugees. In the future, in coming decades, many people will be displaced by natural disasters, but disasters that are contributed to by climate change. So if we're concerned about people who are forcibly displaced due to war and persecution, we should also absolutely be concerned about people whose homes and livelihoods are being destroyed because of climate change. Similarly with poverty-related issues, obviously we're deeply concerned about poverty. That's why we're living in India. But climate change, like I mentioned earlier, will impact the poor first and hardest. So it's not a matter of should we be concerned about climate change or something else. It's a matter of both.